The apparent obligation to trust science has possibly never been more imposing than it has been recently. It's gone from a slogan in debate to a concept that can determine whether or not our fundamental rights are withheld from us or granted based on how well we adhere to it. But when people say trust science, how are we supposed to make sense of that? How are we supposed to understand that? Because science means knowledge that we possess through our intellectual capacity, and because we possess it and because it is within the grasp of our intellectual capability, there should be few, if any, unknowns about it, as distinct from faith, which is laden with mystery, which is something that can make us uncomfortable a lot of the time. But in the modern age, or the age that we live in, science and technology have become so specialized and sophisticated that the average layperson like you and I have to admit that when we speak of scientific knowledge, we're not describing our own knowledge. It's not a knowledge that we personally possess. If it were our own knowledge, we wouldn't have to trust it the way that we do with faith. We would simply access it and live according to it. When someone says trust the science, what they really mean is trust my knowledge, which is superior to yours. Trust me because I'm an authority, and therefore your skepticism, your questions, your concerns, your criticisms are inappropriate and invalid. Historically, the great hope of science was that it would liberate us from our limitations, especially those limitations that are imposed upon us by the natural world. We often resent those limitations, and so we sought to develop technology and knowledge that would help us transform the world around us according to our own desires and expectations. The famous communist philosopher Karl Marx once wrote that philosophers have hitherto only interpreted the world in various ways. The point is to change it. In other words, we used to use science and technology to understand the nature of things and then to try to conform ourselves to those laws. But according to Marx, it is the natural world who should genuflect to us through science and technology. Which makes me think, what could go wrong with that? And what did we get for those great hopes and expectations? We went from being subject to the laws of nature to the great conquest of nature by science, such that now only a few select scientists can wield the knowledge and technology that is so sophisticated most of us don't understand it. The conquest of nature by science actually turns out to be the conquest of scientists over the world of their fellow man. We went from being subjects to the laws of nature to being subject to those in lab coats. And for every problem that scientists solve, they seem to create a whole host of unintended new problems. Industrialization made the world smaller and more accessible through new manufacturing methods and the harnessing of affordable and accessible energy, but now we are dependent on those energy sources, and we're told that they are disrupting our climate. Modern medicine was supposed to cure our ailments, and it has made great strides in doing so, but scientists have also used it to create super viruses in labs, which they sometimes can't control. Plastic was supposed to simplify our material needs, and now we have a floating island of plastic garbage in the Pacific Ocean. And the reason that all of these unintended consequences keep erupting is because there used to be this harmony between philosophy of ethics and metaphysics and the philosophy that led to something like the natural sciences. But at some point in the progression of Western civilization and the natural sciences in our intellectual inquiry, we discarded the ethics and the metaphysical side of our philosophy and our science, such that now when questions like, just because I can do something, does that mean I should do it, are really difficult to answer, and frankly, scientists don't even bother to answer it. Trust is something that should be earned, and in the case of God, that's always the pattern that he seems to follow with us. God always starts with a demonstration of who he is and what he's capable of doing. In the case of, let's say, Moses and the Israelites, prior to making demands upon the Israelite people, he made a demonstration of who he was through great signs and wonders, such as the plagues upon Egypt, and the liberation of the Israelites from Egypt by miracles like the parting of the Red Sea. And then he tells them that because you've been able to witness and experience these things that I've been able to do, you should trust me in what I'm going to reveal to you about myself and yourself, and how it is that you can live in harmony with this new knowledge. Fast forward 1,500 years or so, and we encounter Jesus, who again performs miracles, but one that is really the kind of thing that God can do. He rises from the dead. And this is to demonstrate that he possesses a knowledge and a power that we couldn't possibly begin to understand. And as a result, we should trust his teachings and what it is that he has to reveal to us about God and again about ourselves. In the case of the natural sciences and scientists, is that kind of trust and devotion really appropriate? Certainly natural science has made massive contributions to humanity, but does it or the people who wield it really deserve our unquestioning obedience? Well, in trying to answer that question, consider that a recent study out of the University of Oxford concluded that 94% of medication and therefore the treatments that are used in clinics like the one that you and I go to are not supported by the evidence. That was 94%, in case you missed that number. And can you think of any reason why a select minority of people in possession of a unique knowledge and technology and power would use it to their advantage at the expense of the rest of us? Because I can think of a lot of reasons. And according to a now well-respected and much discussed paper by John Ioannidis called Why Most Published Research Findings Are False, he concludes that 90% of research that is published in medical journals, which is the threshold that we're supposed to observe to establish what is proven science, he says that 94% of it is just wrong and junk science. But yet this is the very same system and discipline and people that we are supposed to devote ourselves to through slogans like trust the science. So it seems to me that we find ourselves back where we started from in our attempts to be liberated by the shortcomings of faith and religion, or at least the parts that made us uncomfortable. But now, instead of putting all of our trust in a higher authority, like God or one of his messengers, we have to place an undue amount of faith and trust in our fellow human beings, the scientists, who we are supposed to be equal to. But because of the dynamics of the power that they have been given through their unique training, I would say that it's far from an equal dynamic. You could argue that scientists, after having displaced faith as a source of valid knowledge and our understanding, have now proceeded to place themselves in the position of God, demanding that we put our faith in them, a faith that was once only reserved for God. Science, by design and definition, isn't meant to be trusted. It's meant to be understood, but when it exceeds our understanding, it's no longer science, it's magic. And when only a select minority of people are able to use it, they are no longer scientists, but magicians. So the next time you hear somebody say, I trust science and you should too, what you should really be hearing is, I trust someone to possess a greater authority, knowledge, and power than you or I can, and to never use it to their unique advantage at the expense of ours. To which I say again, what could possibly go wrong with that? Hey, thanks for watching. The reason I can continue making content like this is because of the generous support of my viewers. If you are able to support the work I'm doing, there are a couple of ways you can do that, by donating through my website or by joining my online community, The Reinforcements. Both can be done by visiting brianholdsworth.ca, the .ca because that's how we internet in Canada. Members will have the opportunity to personally interact with myself and other community members, and certain levels will receive a free gift basket from Glory and Shine, who is a family-owned Catholic bath and body products company whose beard balm I'm wearing right now. Members also get free access to Christ-Centered Capital, which offers ethical investing tips that are in accord with Catholic beliefs. Even if you aren't able to support my work, consider checking both of them out at gloryandshine.com and christcenteredcapital.com. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.